What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Saw It In Cincy. My name is Andrew Maloney. I'm your certified Cincinnati hype man and local real estate agent here in Cincinnati. In today's episode, I'm super pumped to have a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for 15 years. I know, a long time. Miranda McGee with American Legacy Tours. Miranda, thank you for coming.
Andrew, I didn't think there was anyone that loved Cincy more than me till I met you.
I know.
And then now I've been like watching your podcast. I'm like, oh, there's a whole bunch of us.
Yeah.
We should like get together on like Cincinnati's birthday and have a little celebration this year.
Big birthday party. Let's do it.
I love it.
I'm so down. So Miranda, Aussie transplant, you're here in Cincinnati and you've just grown to love this city, I think, more than a lot of people who've born and raised here.
I'm obsessed. It's like the greatest love story of my life, and my husband is fine with that. He knows he's number two, and he's like, I just accepted.
Yeah.
How can you not love Cincy?
I know.
It's such an incredible city. Like the history alone you could talk about for days, which is why like that's what we do at American Legacy Tours. It's like, you know when you're in love with someone and you want to talk about them all the time?
Yeah.
That's Cincinnati for us.
Yeah, so American Legacy Tours, you want to give a little bit of history, brief background, how it got started, how you got involved with the company, and, you know, what your mission is.
Yeah, so at American Legacy Tours, what we pride ourselves on is we're historically entertaining.
Oh, cool.
So when you come on our tours, you're not going to get a long, boring lecture about Cincinnati. We basically pare it down to the most dynamic stories to make history fun. Like the best thing people say at the end of our tours is like, I didn't know it was going to be so funny or so entertaining. But to go back in time, we started in 2009. A group of 5 friends did a fundraiser over in Newport for the kids' schools, and they did a gangster tour.
Oh, cool.
And it was so successful that they were like, well, let's maybe monetize this.
Yeah.
And then the next year we added our Queen City Underground tour, which is still one of our best tours. And at the moment, we have 13 different tours running, including 6 ghost tours, a 1919 baseball tour, the gangster tour again. And we've even sort of upgraded. One of the new things we're doing that I'm excited about is a Prohibition is Over dinner. It's a 5-course pairing meal with Northern Row. Okay. And we tell you with each course comes like the crazy history of Prohibition. So you can celebrate with a drink, celebrate your freedom.
That's so cool.
This dinner. Yeah, we've got a lot of irons in the fire, but we're super excited about it.
So the Ultimate Queen City Tour, I've had the pleasure of going on that with you, and you are hysterical, which I already knew, and so fun, so entertaining. Give us a brief background history where that tour kind of takes you.
Sure. So we have 2 underground tours, and those ones they give you a little overview of, in Hidden Caverns, it's the northern part of Over the Rhine. In the Queen City Underground, it's the southern part of Over the Rhine. And then we take you into these old lagering tunnels where lager was made back in the 1800s. That's kind of the big selling point of the tour. So you go 30 feet underground where they used to make beer in the 1800s. And one of the sets of tunnels by Finley Market may or may not be haunted, except it is.
Yeah, I believe it.
I believe it too.
I mean, you've seen it.
I have seen it, and I didn't used to believe in ghosts until 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of scary down there. That's why I have like 3 crucifixes on me, and I have like all these like protective stones in my backpack. That's why my little like tour backpack's really heavy.
Yeah. That's crazy. So the Queen City Haunted Tour, you have 6 haunted tours?
We have 6 different haunted tours now. We have Newport, Covington, Clifton. Wow. Clifton is super haunted. In Clifton, Andrew, is one of the most haunted houses in America.
No way.
The History Channel actually did a documentary on it. It's at the top of Cornell Place, and most of the time, depending on who's renting it, people seem to, if they move in, they stay 2 days, then they move out, which is great for us because then we are able to get back in there.
Right.
And then we also have Mount Healthy is haunted. Then we have Nightmare on Elm Street. And then because we go down Elm Street. Yeah. And then we have our Queen City is Haunted tour, which was the original tour.
Okay. And those are all year round or just Halloween season?
Queen City is Haunted and Nightmare are running right now. They're our most popular ones. Okay. And then the others just run basically September, October in haunted season.
Okay. Cool. Now, with a lot of people in Over the Rhine downtown walking around, I think people just aren't aware of everything that is around them history-wise. Do you have any stories of, you know, one story that you point out on the tour? Obviously, I don't want to give away the tour.
Sure.
But one you point out is where Mad Tree Alcove currently is and the historical significance of that. And I think people who maybe go to brunch or get a cocktail or a beer don't realize they're drinking a beer in a place that started Cincinnati essentially, right?
Oh, it was legendary. So you'll see out the front. I know people are like, oh, I sat in the greenhouse bar. There was a living wall, and I'm like, there's actually way more to it than that.
Yeah.
So if you look at the front of Alcove, you'll see up the top there's an HW, and the year, which was 1873 that it was built, and that stands for Heinrich Wielert. And I'm not giving away too much because there's so much with that place, but Heinrich Wielert, just because it cracks me up. So he was a Union soldier. He fought in the Civil War. He got down on his knees in the middle of the battlefield, which seems very dangerous.
Yeah.
And he begins to pray. And he's like, dear God, if you get me out of this alive, I will return to Cincinnati and I will build a holy temple in your honor that will be beneficial to all of mankind. And I guess God was like, okay. And so Heinrich comes back to Cincinnati and he honors his promise by building the biggest beer garden in the city. He was like, this is the way I can show you.
Yeah.
And my favorite story kind of behind that place is it was called the Second City Hall. And there was a guy who was there every single day, same table, 5 p.m. His name was George Barnsdale Cox, or Boss Cox.
Yeah.
One of the most influential political bosses in the nation, basically ran Cincinnati for 27 years.
Wow.
And he was never he wasn't mayor or anything like that. He was just the cog in the, running the Republican Party machine.
Yeah.
And the reason he never got busted was that his best friend, August Herman, who was part owner of the Reds from 1902 to 1927, August Herman had a photographic memory. So every time they tried to bust Boss Cox, there was no paper trail. And I know. So if you're going to be a master criminal, just have a best friend with a photographic memory.
That's the way to do it.
And if you go to Clifton, the library at Clifton, the public branch of the Cincinnati Library, that is his old house. And he died. He was one of the richest men in Cincinnati, died without a will. They couldn't find his fortune. They believe it's buried in the walls and the foundation of that house. That's now the library.
Wow.
And the other great thing about August Herman, his best buddy, because his brain was so brilliant, he was also probably sitting in Wielert's because he was there every day at 5 p.m. And he said, hey, what if the winner of the National League played the winner of the American League? And the World Series was born. Now, the official meetings took place downtown, but I think the planning and the idea happened right there over a few beers at Wielert's.
That's where all good ideas come from, is over a few beers.
I know. Right?
Yeah. I mean, most of my good ideas come from that.
That's where you thought of this podcast.
100%. I know.
You were
a few
at
beers.
Alcove.
Yes. And I was like, history repeats itself. So I know your brain is full of so many stories that you've seen firsthand, just being down there with ghosts or spirits, as well as stuff you've learned. What are some of your favorite stories that you want to let our listeners know about?
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll start with some of the scary ones.
Okay.
'Cause people like the scary ones.
Yeah.
So I had our link tunnels, spelled Linck, the German spelling, they're over by Finley Market. And our paranormal team, we have this sort of full paranormal team. They've identified quite a high level of paranormal activity down there. And they've done a couple of investigations and they've identified quite a few spirits. And they've identified the spirit of a little girl, which we think her name is Catherine or possibly Ruby. Both names are coming up on the ghost monitor, so it actually could be two little girls.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that they contacted this little girl. It was like I hadn't been informed yet. And one night I had a dream that I was down in the link tunnels and there was a little girl standing by the back in the second tunnel, and she asked me to come and play with her. And Andrew, even in my dream, I was terrified. Wow. I was like backing towards the stairs being like, maybe later, little girl. And the next day, I found out from the paranormal team's report that they contacted this little girl. But the scariest part was that day I also had a private tour with a mother and her high-functioning autistic son. That is how she described him.
Yeah.
Lovely young man. It was a history tour, so I wasn't going to talk about ghosts at all. As we're going down into the tunnels, the mother says to me, she says, by the way, Miranda, if he says anything weird, just ignore it. Sometimes he sees things. And I was like, okay. First thing this little kid says when he gets down here is he points to the corner, exactly where I saw the little girl in my dream. And he said, why is there a little girl down here? And then he perfectly describes the little girl as she was in my dream. Same hair color, same dress color. And that's the kind of stuff that you just can't explain. Just on Saturday, this past Saturday, we were down in the tunnels and we touched briefly during our Hidden Caverns tour. We touched briefly on the spirits because it's not really about the spirits. So if you're on it, don't worry. We're not doing a big ghost thing if you're just there for the history. But I've been telling my group about it, and I finished a story about brewing in Cincinnati, and one guy raised his hands and he said, I really don't want to be that guy. It's just that behind you from that dark tunnel where there's no electricity, somebody just said, shh, like that. And I was like, you're messing with me. And that my entire tour, they all shook their heads. They're like, we all heard it too. And I was like, all right, so we're going to leave.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the bar right now.
Yeah.
So we've had heaps of ghost stories. In that haunted house in Clifton last year, we had 15 people on the tour. And this house has a really sad history. There's been a couple of suicides. It was a girls' school in the 1900s, and half the girls were wiped out by like typhoid or some other illness. So you hear thumps at the times of the suicides, like around 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Hear running footsteps. You hear children's laughter. These chandeliers just swing by themselves.
Wow.
But the scariest thing that happened last year is a lamp just kind of flew across the room. It was so scary that everybody on the tour was like, can we leave now? Like sometimes it's just too scary. And we cannot guarantee that at all. We can't guarantee paranormal activity on our tours. And what's nice about our haunted tours, I will say, is they're historical haunted walking tours. So you get, even if you don't believe in ghosts, you're going to get a lot of cool stories about murder and grave robbing and things like that.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of the scale, that's the ghost stuff.
Yeah.
Then you also have, like last haunted season, I had a very inebriated couple on my tour, and I told them to use the restroom before we got down into the tunnels. There's no restrooms down there. And the guy started looking very uncomfortable during the tour, and I guess he wandered off at one point into the darkness, and then he came back looking much better. And at the end of the tour, one of the other people on the tour were like, he went and peed in that back tunnel. Which I was like,
oh my gosh.
That is so rude.
Yeah.
So they have a little asterisk by their name, like we're not letting those back on. We also have some of my favorite people. We call them the Wikipedias.
Yeah.
They're people that have their phone out the whole time and they're fact checking you. And then you'll see them like turn to like whoever they're on the tour with and be like, oh, like she's right and stuff like that. They tend to usually put away their phone halfway through the tour because they're like, oh, okay, they're right.
Legit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you talk about the grave robbing aspect and stuff. One of my favorite stories that I think people don't realize when they go downtown is where they go to City Flea and take their kids to play before FC games was a graveyard and still is it right?
It sure is. 100%. So the Washington Park story, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Cincinnati history is very funny. One of the reasons Cincy's so funny as well is our town hall and our courthouse have caught fire multiple times. So a bunch of records have been destroyed, and that's why Cincy's this mystery. And Washington Park used to be 3 separate cemeteries.
Okay.
But we didn't know that until 2011 when they did that $48 million renovation, put in the underground parking garage.
Yeah.
Halt construction. They kept that kind of quiet. Did you notice?
It was very quiet. It was very quiet. And I think it's funny, like the dog park side has concrete up like underneath the astroturf so dogs don't dig it, I guess. That's what I've heard.
So yeah, because they dug out the parking garage. They moved the bodies to Spring Grove Cemetery.
Okay.
We did actually have the construction guys on a tour. And I was like, did you really not know? And they were like, we had no idea. We were so surprised. And I was like, okay, you really didn't know. The south end has obviously never been dug up. That was going to be too expensive. So the dog park is paved over. You'll also see the grass in the dog park is astroturf. So they don't want any areas for the dogs to dig. The children's playground is the same way because that's also never been dug up.
Yeah.
That's why it's got that rubber cement and astroturf because kids like to dig around.
Yeah.
That's also why the trees in the south end are so big because they're old and they have really good fertilizer.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that fascinating?
It's crazy.
It's wild. Right by where the patio is as well, there's a guy buried there, and I don't know how we were able to find this out, but there's a guy buried there called Joshua Wyeth, and he actually coined the term the Boston Tea Party. It used to be called, when it happened, it was called the incident of tea being thrown into the Boston Harbor, which doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
And so he was the first one here in Cincinnati to coin the term Boston Tea Party, and he's buried in Washington Park.
That's so funny. Yeah, because you do see the gravestones now when you go in there next to the dog park. They do have those now that pay homage to the people that are buried there.
Yes.
Which is nice. So
is it nice?
I think it's nice that you pay homage to people so you're just not forgotten. Like,
That is true.
The people are there still and, respect it, everybody, when you go to the park. People
Absolutely. Take
there.
a little moment. Some of our guides leave flowers there every haunted tour they do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Now, one of my favorite little tidbits, there's a lot of historical figures that have been here in Cincinnati throughout the ages. Can you name a few that you kind of touch base on during the tours?
Absolutely. So you've obviously got August Herman, who was also the commissioner of baseball. So he put the banner of the Major League Baseball over the American and National League, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you some ones you might not expect. So Charles Manson was born here.
Okay.
Delightful.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. This isn't somebody born here, but Stephen Foster wrote Oh, Susanna here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to tell you. This is a modern historical figure who was sort of had a moment in Cincinnati. Tom Cruise came here in the 70s to study at St. Francis Seminary. He was going to be like near sort of the Winton Woods area. He was going to be a Franciscan priest.
Wow.
He lasted 1 year, then he got thrown out.
Wow.
But that is just something really interesting I found recently.
Yeah.
Also, Miles Greenwood was here, and he basically made the first steam pump for fire engines, and thus started the first paid fire department.
Okay.
So these are just some of my like favorite sort of people that have come out of Cincinnati. And then you've got, Nick Lachey, obviously.
Yeah. George Clooney in the
Right.
area,
Exactly.
That's exciting.
What are some of yours?
Some of my favorite stories? I mean, Annie Oakley, Buffalo Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who wouldn't want that? Carmen Electra, right? Isn't
Yeah.
she went to SCPA? And Sarah Jessica Parker?
I think so. Sarah Jessica Parker lived in Clifton.
Yeah.
She still sneaks back to Clifton sometimes to visit
Emilio,
family.
obviously.
I mean, who like lives in Over the Right now, doesn't he?
He's still here.
I know I've seen him at Japs a couple of times. Did you know whatever you do, I don't know if you've been told this because you know everybody in Cincy, but you are told because he's at Coffee Emporium a lot as well.
Yeah.
You're told by baristas and bartenders, do not quack at him. He hates that.
I've heard that too.
And
Yeah.
the first time I saw him though, that was my first inclination.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like Coach Bombay, like
Yeah, everybody does.
Let's
and
do the flying V.
I think it's kind of died off a little bit that he's been here a minute, but first time I went out with people, I was like, he walked in, the whole bar erupted.
I know.
And I was like,
They all
I
started
feel
quacking.
so bad. Oh, I feel
God,
bad for him.
poor
But
Emilio.
I think he likes it or,
He takes it in stride.
He
I think
does.
he likes you to congratulate him on like the Breakfast Club. Like you can probably sing
Yeah.
"Don't You Forget About Me"
or
to
The
him.
Public. His
Yep.
most recent movie. Like,
the one
yeah.
he actually wrote and directed at
Yes.
the public library.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to change the image.
Which is great. I
Man,
love
he
it.
was a great coach though.
Great
he got
coach.
those kids to the Olympics.
So, looking back at the history aspect of things, what is your favorite tour to lead as a tour guide? I'm putting you on the spot
I
there.
knew you were going to ask me that.
Yeah.
No, I did know. And I was thinking about it last night. And it's honestly like trying to choose between your favorite child.
Yeah.
Because all of them have something unique and they attract a different kind of group of people. So I don't think I can pick a favorite one.
Yeah. And they all kind of, they probably have similar themes too with certain things, right?
History is the symbol.
Well, history, but you know what I mean? Like different brewers or historical figures that kind of intersect. I know the gangster tour probably has people that affected Cincinnati and vice versa.
Oh, 100%. Because once you start telling history, that's why it's so cool because it's all so interconnected.
Yeah.
Which is why, Andrew, before we go to a dinner party, so Carter, my husband, before we walk in, he just turns to me and he stands in front of me. He's like, all right, this is a lovely dinner party. You get 2 historical stories that you can tell. One of them cannot be the cholera epidemic of 1849. Nobody wants to hear about that. I'm always like,
It's my favorite.
a tenth of the population died. They had to enact an emergency state law that if you wanted to trade in Cincinnati, you had to take bodies with you. Like,
Wow.
Anyway, he's like, can't talk about that over dinner. But so I have my 2 historical stories. But then, just like we're doing now, when we realize everything's interconnected, I start getting excited.
Yeah.
So he has to squeeze my hand under the table. Then he just whispers in my ear. He goes, easy. Like that when I'm like, oh, and then, like George Remus, king of the bootleggers, came in.
Yeah.
Which the Remus story, I should have mentioned him as one of my favorite historical figures.
Now that you say like, Great Gatsby, essentially.
Yeah, kind of he was one of the inspirations for
Yeah.
Because I guess him and F. Scott Fitzgerald met one night at a
Yeah.
hotel. And he was like, and for those of people who don't know Remus, he was king of the bootleggers, moved to Cincinnati during Prohibition because this is where all the bonded medicinal alcohol was. But he's mostly known, of course, as you probably know, Andrew, for murdering his wife in Eden Park.
Yep.
He also had this massive mansion in Price Hill
Yeah.
that was like incredible. And one of my favorite stories, which is I think the impetus for The Great Gatsby, is I don't know if you heard about his New Year's party.
No.
Oh, this was wild. He just moved to Cincinnati and he wanted to like get all the fancy people in, you know, like the Tafts and the Longworths and stuff like that. So he threw this massive party. They, by the way, did not attend. They thought he was pretty classless and he was obviously a criminal.
Yeah.
But a bunch of other people came. And when everybody sat down at the table, a person lifted their plate and gave a cry of surprise because under their plate was $1,000. And then everybody lifted their plate and there was $1,000 under each plate. It gets better. Then these boxes were put in front of them and there was a watch and a diamond stick pin in each box. So the men are delighted, but the women are a bit grumpy. They're like, I can't wear a watch or wear a diamond stick pin. What's in it for me? And so Remus says, follow me outside, please. He opens the door. There's a long line of Lincoln Town cars, one for each lady guest.
Wow.
That was George Remus. Like, crazy, man. And then, of course, once he killed his wife, he pled temporary insanity.
Yeah.
He represented himself in court and he got acquitted. It only took the jury 19 minutes to decide, and they were like, we think he's good.
Wow. In the gazebo in Eden Park, right?
It was in the gazebo, which is why the gazebo is haunted, some might say, by a woman in a black dress, which is Imogene, who is honestly a bit of a jerk, to be quite honest. Not that anyone deserves to be shot at Eden Park.
Right.
She was kind of, well, I don't know how much I can swear on him.
No, it's not for kids. It's
great. She was a bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. She ran off. She met, am I talking too much about
Remus?
Okay.
I love, Remus is one of my favorites and I don't know why I didn't mention him earlier.
Oh, I know.
I know.
Cincinnati's so great that you get lost in all the graveyards of Washington Park and the World Series.
Yeah.
So Remus gets, and there's a great book called The Ghosts of Eden Park, if you haven't read it, that's all about Remus. So he gets busted for bootlegging. He spends 2 years in jail. While he's in jail right at the start, there's an undercover prohibition agent called Franklin Dodge, who is dodgy, actually. Like the name totally fits. You want to talk about onomatopoeia right there. So Franklin Dodge, Remus tells him, he's like, don't worry, man. I've got heaps of money, but I'm not going to lose it from this bootlegging thing because I've transferred everything to my wife's name. So Franklin Dodge is undercover. So he gets out of jail and he's like, well, that's a lot of money. So he goes to Imogene and they start having an affair. They run off together. When Remus is eventually released from jail, he's not actually, he knows Imogene's doing some dodgy stuff, but he's like, I'm going to go home to my beautiful mansion that I spent so much money on and I'm finally out of jail. Then I'll work out things from there. I'll divorce her. It'll be great. He comes back to the mansion late at night and everything's gone. The stone lions at the gate were gone. He goes to the house. The chandeliers are gone. The doors have been taken off the hinges.
Wow.
One of the only things left were some of Imogene's shoes and a pair of shoes that were not in Remus's size. They were Dodge's shoes and some engraved silverware with Franklin Dodge's initials on them.
Wow.
That's why I think she's a bit of a bitch.
And then they just left. They're gone.
They sort of went on the run. And then the reason they sort of came up is they had to get a divorce. So on the morning of their divorce, that is when George Remus chased her through Eden Park and shot her. And I'm not condoning murder by any means.
Right.
But he might have really been insane. He kind of said, after he shot her, he said, that's the first peace I've had in years.
Wow.
So
it really is. I mean, Great Gatsby in a nutshell. Everything about it. And how cool that that's here in Cincinnati to affect this global story.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know have you seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yeah.
So you know how the father in it is always like, every root comes from Greek.
Yeah.
I think everything comes from Cincinnati in a way. You were talking, first professional baseball team, first paid fire department. As we know, the Roebling was the prototype for the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. It's everything. And now you look at it now and you see people who started here, whether for university or they're born and raised here, and they go off and do incredible things. Mm-hmm. So it really is a hub for a lot of arts, culture, technology throughout the world.
We're amazing.
We are amazing. Let's just admit it. I know. People call it mid and I don't get why.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. Because they don't get it. They don't get it. They have to listen to your podcast.
They have to listen. Yeah. And take a tour as well.
And take a tour.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, right. That as well.
Take a tour. So what are non-haunted stories that you've seen? Anything stick out to you or any one of your favorite? Talked Remus. We've talked a few other things. Anything that sticks out to you is this is something that everybody needs to know.
I don't know if this is something everybody needs to know because we've already been, there's so many great things, but it's a really weird story that I wanted to tell you that I know a lot of people do not know.
Let's hear it.
And it kind of, see, this is when history intersects.
Yeah.
So it has a little bit to do with Remus. So Remus's right-hand man, apart from August Herman, was a guy called Lewis Craft. Lewis Craft was obsessed with like spiritualism and the occult and stuff like that at Arlen's in Clifton.
Yeah.
It's in that bar in the basement. That's where they used to hold like seances and stuff. They found like pentagrams on the floor.
Oh gosh.
I know, right? But so Lewis Craft was like totally obsessed with his psychic, who was a woman named Jessie Klinger. I just think it's funny because I'm like, this is Remus's right-hand guy. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is not Remus. It is George Barnsdale Cox.
Okay.
His right-hand guy.
Okay.
Let me go back there.
Yes.
So we're back to George Barnsdale Cox, who was running the city, and this is his right-hand guy.
Okay.
Him and August Herman. That was embarrassing, but that's okay. Two criminals.
Georges, yeah.
Two criminals, essentially. So Lewis Craft is in love with his psychic, Jessie Klinger. Jessie Klinger dies. Lewis Craft is devastated. Enter this woman called Plymouth Weeks. She was a psychic from over in Kentucky, and I use that term loosely. She was basically a charlatan. She'd already been arrested for fraud twice. And she goes to Lewis Craft and she's like, guess what? Not only can I get you a spiritual link to the spirit of Jessie Klinger, but I can give you spirit children. Lewis, like, for a price. And Lewis Craft is like, excellent, let's do it. So she goes to this maternity hospital, which was run by this really fake doctor, like Dr. Annie Florian, I want to say. And this woman was known for taking women that got pregnant out of wedlock. They would have their babies there, and then this doctor would arrange for the babies to get adopted secretly, so the family didn't have to be disgraced.
Okay.
So Plymouth Weeks grabs two boys out of there, presents them to Lewis Craft as his spirit children, and he ended up leaving pretty much his entire fortune that he amassed from like Boss Cox's like dirty money. He left them to those two boys.
Wow.
And this is the guy running like the politics in Cincinnati. That's his right-hand man.
Yeah, making all the moves here in Cincy, and here you go.
And he's like, this is my best bud.
Wow. That's crazy. And it's crazy just how, times have changed, but they haven't. I mean, you still got, it's still.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of our local politician. I'm like, which one of them got some spirit children?
Yeah, who does? I mean, you never know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Spiritual leader at that point. So, well, Miranda, how can people book a tour with you?
It's so easy. Just go to AmericanLegacyTours.com, and then we have all 13 options to choose from. We're also offering some sort of boutique things like the Prohibition dinner. We also, Andrew, have you ever heard of the Dunham Tuberculosis Hospital?
I'm a West Sider, so I know where Dunham is, but
Right.
I've not been in there since everything, but go ahead.
Right. So the rec center used to be a tuberculosis hospital.
Okay.
Before that, it was actually a Civil War field hospital, that area. So people see the ghosts of soldiers like walking across like the baseball fields and stuff.
Yeah.
But we are very fortunate to have access to the Dunham, to one of the buildings of the Dunham. They have tunnels underneath where they used to walk when it was cold, like the nurses and stuff. They also would transport dead bodies through there. We did an investigation. I was brave enough to go on one. I brought a cocktail with me though, because I'm really scared.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in one of those dark tunnels and we started hearing like coughing and stuff like that. And we were all like, is that one of us? That's not one of us, because it used to be a tuberculosis hospital.
Yeah.
So we're offering these boutique investigations during haunted season where you can go with our paranormal team.
That's cool.
With all their equipment. So keep your eye out for that. But this is all at AmericanLegacyTours.com, and we run 7 days a week.
Okay. Well, Miranda, thank you for coming.
Tour so much.
Book your
Andrew.
tour, guys, because I've had the privilege of being on, I think, 2 tours now with Miranda, and they are so much fun, so informative, so entertaining. It really does take history and gives you an appreciation of Cincinnati in a very entertaining way. So go book your tour. Before we wrap up, I want to thank my sponsor, Zach Hubbard at the Hubbard Home Group with Go Rascal, and we will see you guys next episode. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Miranda. That was fun.